Okay, welcome to Bitrix24 Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix24 Partners, Gold Partners Interface. There's our contact details on the screen. We are based in the UK, we have offices in the US and the UAE, and we manage all pre-sales support, that's demoing, providing, analysing your requirements, and providing solutions for those. We have a full implementation service including customization of Bitrix24 and training, and we have ongoing support service, so we provide a telephone support service. So if you're using cloud or self-hosted, want support setting up and you want to speak to someone on the end of the phone with the questions you've got, then we can provide that for you. Get in touch with us now with your questions. With me I've got our support manager here, Andy Naylor.
Hi there, so we're going to be here for the next hour so we can answer any questions that you may have. We will demonstrate on the cloud version of Bitrix, and we can answer any questions on the on-premise as well. We'll have both systems up on the screen ready to take your questions. And like I say, we're here for the next hour, so put those questions in the box next to the video on YouTube, or if you do have any during the week, we can always take those questions during that week, such as anything to do with the cloud or the on-premise. And if you email sales@interface or live@interface.com, then we'll save those questions ready for the next session, and we'll be able to answer them at the start. So I think we do have a couple of questions that have come in. I do have. So the first question is really to do with, let's have a look on here. So I would like to be able to associate employees to different pieces of information. So the first part of this question is you want to have a list of certifications, and the second part is you would like to have an expense list per employee. So the first part we can have a look at, and then Damien can show you the second part. So I will go on the on-premise version. This is only going to be possible. You want to create some associations with fields. So you would like to display certifications that a user may have. So click onto my profile. What you can do in Bitrix on-premise is essentially create custom fields. So you can see we have a custom field here called educational background, and with the on-premise, the new layout, so I don't know if you are on the on-premise, this is the new layout of the
Cloud.
On the cloud, this is the new layout of the profile. So this will be on the on-premise soon, but it's going to be exactly the same method of adding the fields. So if we click into the control panel, and then if we just search for custom fields, and then what we can do here is just add custom fields to the user profile. So you mentioned about certifications such as HP, Oracle or Microsoft. Then all you would need to do is have a list, and you're going to bind it to the user entity here. And then we're going to say, let's call it cert, and we want it to have a multiple, and then we'll call it certifications. Certifications, if we highlight that, copy it, paste it in, and then if we click on apply, this little tab appears at the top, so we can say HP, Oracle, and the other one was Microsoft. So we'll just have three options. Click on save. So it's called certifications, the field. If we go back to the set now, click on edit mode in the on-premise version. can click into the component and just click on the little gear icon. That'll bring up the component parameters. Clicking into extended properties, and we should be able to find their certifications. So if we hold down Control, I've deselected all those. But if we click on, click Save, and if we click out of Edit mode, click into Edit Profile, we're only going to have one field here. So I think this keyboard's not working. But if you click on Oracle, we can multiple select these, click on Save, and then you'll be able to see certifications here. So you can bind things such as files. We have clients of ours that bind files to employees and actually hide the files from the public view. So you can keep things such as CVs, contracts, things like that on there. So that's one part of your question. The other, I think you're good at this one.
What's the other part?
Yes, so the other part is, can you have an expense list per employee?
Okay, sure, we can do that. If we go down to, now in the on-premise, it's within services. In the cloud, it's within, and this is pretty good, this new layout here, so you can see appreciations down here, allows the users to add a bit about themselves over here as well, and just the basic layout looks really good, a lot better. So where is it on the cloud? Is it within, and is it, it's got its own list section, is it? Yeah, so you've got...
It would normally be, if you were on the, where are we on here? It would normally be in employees, I think, on here, and then lists. And then
lists, okay, but within its on-premise one, you go into services and create a list. So they want to associate, sorry, what's the question?
So they want to associate they want an expense list per employee per trip.
Per employee per trip. Okay, so we've got an expenses list here, so we've got the fields, description field, the value, the date. Let's take out some of these fields we're not using. So we're not using stock or deal. And we've got the created by. So there's the link to the employee. So they want, what was the other bit? They want to associate with a...
So they want an expense list per employee per trip.
Per trip, okay. So we need to associate it with a trip. So we can create a new field. I'm not too sure if... the things you can do in terms of creating different lists that link to other items, you could link to another list, and you could create a list of trips if you needed to keep that information and there was other elements to those trips that you wanted to store in their own list. We can link to employee, which we've seen. Linking to a trip could be just a drop down field that depends how many you do, I guess. If you're doing a large number of trips, you don't want to keep coming in and adding the trips. You could just have it as a free text field. If you want to be able to filter by that specific trip, then you need to have the data more structured from a list or linking to something else. So a trip might even be a deal or a lead or something like that in the CRM. You can bind to a CRM item here. If I click on that one, it could be that the trip is a lead. So it depends how you want to do it, really, how you're using it. But let's do it as a list in this case. So let's say we've got a trip to the USA, and we've got a trip to the UK, and then we'll save those. So it would mean that you would need to come back into here as an admin when you need to add a new trip each time to update that list. Go back into our list here. We didn't give it a name, so it's just defaulted to new field, but we know what it is. So I can now edit any of these ones that already exist. I can select just do a couple of these and show you.
I think with the question it's saying per employee, what you can set the access permissions, can't you, here, to be only able to see your own submissions. So an administrator could be able to see all submissions from all employees, and the people who are just submitting, so your staff, would only be able to see their own entries in this particular list. So
yeah, in fact, this one does is bind to the person that's created it, so you don't get the option to select a particular person. But that might be the way.
that's the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, unless you're doing it as a manager for other people, then you want that flexibility. But I can now filter by new field and creator by, so I can filter by all that John Smith's created and all trips to the USA, and I can get my filter.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah.
So, got a question that's come through on YouTube. I want this CRM on premise at Bangladesh. What's the procedure? And is it possible on my custom domain? So the on-premise is available to put on your own domain name that you own. So yeah, you can certainly put it on your own domain. And what's the procedure of getting it? If we get in touch with us with one of those contact details on there, we do actually have a promotion running on Bitrix at the moment. So it's up to 32% off the on-premise version of Bitrix, and there's also discounts available on the cloud version as well if you're using 3, 6, 12 and 24 months. So please do get in touch with us to inquire a little bit more. We can get some more details towards the end of the webinar.
Yeah. So what we would do for you is you would buy the license from us. You would, if you want it on premise, so you're going to host it on your own server, we have our own environment. We'll install on your server for you and run Bitrix on that. So we'll set the server environment up with our own custom environment. We'll install the software for you on your server, and then you would be looking at buying support and training from us, to training for the admins, to manage the system, and then ongoing support, telephone support, as we said, so you can ring us up anytime with any questions. We wouldn't recommend going into a self-hosted project without training and support. It's a very big product. Certainly the hosting situation is technical, so you're going to need support potentially going to need support around that. Certainly the control panel side of Bitrix is very, very comprehensive, so there's a lot you can go into in the back end to change it, and it works differently to the self-hosted. A lot of things you can do and change, but particularly things that can go wrong as well. So
okay,
get in touch with us and we'll give you a quote if you just need to know the number of users. So Bitrix on-premise price based on user numbers. So once we know that, we can give you a price for the license, and I'll help to set it up. Okay, hi. I'm a travel company, Count Victory Travel Ventures Limited. So yeah, if you have a question, let us know. How can this help us in our travel industry? So I think Bitrix is suitable for any sector. Really, it's not built specifically for any particular industry. You have built in their main 3 areas: CRMs, capturing leads from various sources. So you can capture leads from web forms, from web chat widgets, from your Facebook page, from incoming emails and telephone calls. You can then manage the sales pipelines, the sales process manually and with some automation. And when you get a new sale, you can create work groups and tasks to deliver that project for your customer. And you see daily new leads to be generated. Yeah, say leads can be automatically captured. You can do automation on leads. Let's have a quick look at that. So inside a lead, let's have a look at lead page like this. So you can see all your leads come in, and you can see this one's come from Facebook, this one's from your a live chat, and you can create automatic actions on those leads. So in this one, we're sending out emails, we're scheduling follow-up calls, updating a responsible person. You can do various things in an automatic sense, and as well as adding activity manually. So it might be actually when you win a lead or a deal, you can generate a task maybe to deliver that package that you've sold. So you want all leads to be allocated to telecallers. So that would be, you'd schedule here as a lead it comes in new. You might want to send them a follow-up email automatically and then schedule a call to someone in telesales. We did a process for a call centre recently whereby we automatically scheduled calls on a rotational basis around their team. We also had some criteria that they needed to match based on who was inquiring and who was able to deal with that specific inquiry around sort of things like languages and times they were available during the day and things like that. So you can do it, just schedule it automatically to a group of people, or you can be more advanced on that. Yeah, and you say you need to check performance of all employees. Of course, you can report on. Let's go into. You can do a whole load of. You want to see how many calls they've made, how many interactions they've done. You can see all that data inside Bitrix. So here we go. Here we go in terms of employees. So these are our employees here. 4 employees, and we can see how many phone calls, emails, social media messages and inquiries they've got from CRM forms. This is in the last 30 days. You can change that date period. So you can see who's busiest over there. We can see on this one who is following up on those inquiries, leads, contacts, companies, deals, and who's got the most sort of outstanding as well. Those are the key things I guess you want to be able to see. And we've got a widget down here that shows you a sales target, who's progressing towards those, how they're doing against those sales target. It would help us better if you have CRM software set up per industry. We don't, so.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of Bitrix. You can set it up to fit in with your industry. So with a bit of training and a bit of support, you can configure Bitrix to meet your exact requirements. It's very customizable. It is easier when you get, like you say it's a little bit too confusing. It's only confusing if you don't know. So, like I say, training would be ideal for you.
Yeah, we'd set it up for you. So we have a call with you to go through what your sales process is, and we set it up for you and train you on that. So it's, we remove the stuff you don't use. So if you don't want CRM marketing allows you to do bulk emails and things like that. If you don't use that, take it out. All the features you don't use are removed. So it's very straightforward. Relatively straightforward with some support from a partner. But setting up a CRM system is not automatic in any case. It's not possible to have one just out of the box that works for you. It does require effort from your side as well. Really, we always say to people that the cost of the license for the CRM is very much the smallest part of the cost of implementing a CRM system. Cost of the license might be 1/10 of the cost to set it up when you consider the cost you have to pay to a partner to support you to set it up, but also the big cost that you're going to incur from your internal resource, using up internal resources to implement it. So there's nothing out of the box which will work for any business at all. It does require a collaboration between a partner and your internal team to get it set up and working the way you want it. Oops. So there's our contact details. If you want to get in touch, send us a message on chat, and if you want to get in touch afterwards, you can send us a message on that contact information. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we've got a follow-up message. If you're looking for tie-ups in the hotel industry, then I guess if you want to send your email over to us on one of those details, sales at Interface, we can get in touch and have a call about how to do that. I mean, if you want to, certainly if we're always interested in working in sort of industries that maybe not worked in too much before. So and we're happy to do sort of like tie-ups with businesses. So get in touch. Got any more questions?
Yeah, for multiple companies where services should be shared, is it better to have separate Bitrix sites, or is it better in different work groups? I.e., can each work group have a CRM? So I think what you're referring to is if multiple different businesses are logging into the same Bitrix system, then how can you separate the CRM up? So in that case, what Bitrix CRM is easily divided between users, so you can essentially separate the CRM to see only what your company wants to see if you've got multiple companies. And it's really based off the company structure. So what we would recommend if you do have multiple teams wanting to see their own information in the CRM is create a department for each team. So you've got HR, IT, marketing, sales north and sales south. These could be different companies. So this is what you would need to get set up first. And then based on these departments, we can then separate the CRM up. So this department only sees all the leads from this department and cannot see leads from the other departments. So you only see what you need to see. And it's basically set up by that company structure and then going into the CRM permissions and then creating a role. So we could call this role company roles. And then what we can do here is for contacts and for companies to view them, we can restrict it to seeing their own and their own departments. If your company has multiple departments, then we recommend having a personal department and all sub-departments. So that would mean that anybody in company A that you created a department for would not see any contacts that are associated with company B that their contacts are associated. So you only see your own department and in this case your sub-departments below you. So if you see marketing department, we could call this company A, and then you could have all your sub-departments below company A. So you could still keep the same structure, and this is how you would set it. And then once you're happy with all these permissions, so we've got read, so the ability to view contacts, the ability to add contacts, edit, delete, export and import. And once you're happy with everything, click save, and then you can assign those to all employees. If you click on demo employees, let's click on the role that you've just created and then click on save. And that will segment your CRM up exactly how you want it.
Yeah. Okay, let's have more questions if you can. If you've got any questions at all about any aspects of Bitrix24.
I've got another question for you. What is the difference between a workflow and a business process template?
Template, a workflow template and a business process template. I don't know the answer to that.
I think what they're referring to is
workflow will be something
here,
in the activity stream. So I don't know what you mean by template, but yeah, workflows exist. You find workflows in the activity stream. You can access them in your workflows here as well. If you click in the widget here, go to workflows in activity stream. So these are generally processes for managing HR and admin related items. So things like absence request, purchases request, expenses submission. Really, I mean, we've got a few custom ones we've built here from this demo site. So let's have a look at a general request is the simplest one, I think. So we go into the workflow behind here, general requests. So what does this do? Let's see if we have some requester. Okay. So in this case, it sets it gathers information from a form, submits that form to somebody who then is given an assignment down here, and it's assigned to them. Basically, there's no feedback, that they're assigned it and a notification is sent to that person. So it's maybe, may I have a new PC, and then they receive an assignment. Assignment sits in your workflows section here, and so that's a workflow template. They exist within that activity stream section. And then the other one was what was the other one, Andy?
Business process.
A business process. So business processes, they look the same, but they exist in documents, in the CRM, and on lists. Let's have a look in the CRM.
I think sometimes the terminology can be a little bit confusing, can't it?
If you go into settings on the CRM, yeah, absolutely. So we've got business process, and we've also got automation as well. So if you go to the CRM and automation, in here you've got the option to access the leads and deals automation and the business processes. So I guess they work slightly differently. We can just show you what the difference is. Look at business processes first. Business processes firstly exist in leads, companies, contacts, and deals. So automation is just in leads and deals. So if you want to run a business process on a company, then you need to use, the business process section. You can't use automation. This one is a business process that runs on a company that creates a project or a work group. So what it does, it requests that somebody be the manager of this group. So you fill out a form, you put in who you want to be the manager of the project, sends a request to that person. If they reject it, then the process comes down here and ends. If they accept this, then notifies everybody involved. It creates the work group, adds some sort of milestone tasks here, and that's it. So that's a business process in the CRM. So they also exist in documents and in lists. If we just go back and just have a quick look at automation, settings. So automation exists in leads and deals. It looks a little bit different. We looked at this a bit earlier on leads. So essentially, automation is based on the stage of a lead or a deal. So based on this, a lead or a deal being at one of these stages, it's going to trigger these actions here. So here we're scheduling a call, we're sending an email. You've got quite a lot of different things that you can do on automation. All these different standard actions that you can trigger. Schedule call, schedule meeting, send email, create a task, send SMS, those sort of things. But automation is based on a stage, whereas a business process can be triggered when either manually, so you go on the company record, decide you want to run a process on this because you want to create a new project. In that example, you do it manually when you win a new deal with that business. On this, it's looking at the stage all the time and triggering these actions. So this means when somebody changes the stage manually, we do have triggers though as well. So stages can be updated, not just manually, but based on an external trigger, such as an incoming email. So in this case, should an email come in from an email address that matches an email address on the deal, that acts as a trigger to change the status to this quotation stage. Here we've got a CRM form submission. That's quite a good one. So so you can create forms in Bitrix. Someone submits one of those forms, creates a deal for you automatically. When we win it, we're gonna if we have an incoming email at this stage, we've got two here. That's not going to work very well unless there's sort of additional conditions inside those two action items. But when an incoming email comes in, then it's going to close this as one, or again form submission. So just got a few different things on here that we put on maybe part of a demo. You can add additional conditions in. So I could say, well, when an incoming email comes in, and provided the responsible person is, this person, then I'm going to use that as a trigger to close this. All those criteria need to be met. So that's the difference between business processes and, or those two business processes, but also that's automation as well. inside Bitrix. So we do a webinar on automation, which you should watch on our YouTube channel.
It's going up on Monday, the automation.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Is it possible to make a backup for the date of one employee or more? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. In terms of backups, your Bitrix system on the cloud is backed up on a daily basis. If you have an on-premise, you can actually configure the backups. Do
you mean, is it possible to restore a backup for one particular employee from one date? That wouldn't really make sense. You can restore backups from a previous date, but it would be system-wide. It's not possible for an employee to roll back just their own work. And also, I mean, on the cloud, you can't restore a backup anyway. I mean, it never goes down, so you never lose your data. But if you're on a self-hosted, then you can do what you want. You can roll back based on reinstalling a backup, but you can't do it per employee. No. Okay, and we put our details up there. If you want to send us any more questions or get in touch with us afterwards, those are our details up there. We don't have any more questions right now, but
I'm going to mention saying, are you going to update the desktop version of Bitrix24, like the web application, or it will be the same? I don't think there's any plans on updating the desktop application to look like the web application. It's purposely used for file syncing, the instant messenger, video and voice calls, and notifications. That's primarily what the desktop application is for. It won't take the features of all the web application.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any more questions? Does have any more questions you've got? We do this session once a week at the same time, and we also have webinars on Monday, which we do on different subjects such as CRM, project management, HR, business processes, which is next Monday, telephony, sites, which includes a module to be able to create public sites. And we look at the self-hosted products as well, so the advantages of the on-premise version of Bitrix. We had an inquiry today about on-premise, so if you email us, we'll send you a proposal to set that up, all that up for you. And as Andy says, there's now an offer on all licenses, including on-premise.
Yeah, I had a follow-up. Well, we received it in the week, just about the explaining where the important pieces of information are situated, like files, and how can they easily be stored in case of failure. So, in the case of failure, like Damien said, Bitrix Cloud, and it's never been down, and you would never need to restore anything. Should you delete everything out of your system and need it restored, it is possible to restore a cloud version if it goes catastrophically wrong by user error. So that is possible. You would need to contact Bitrix support. But yeah, with the on-premise, you would just use your own backup scheduling to restore it.
Mm-hmm. So a follow-up question about what you want the system to do. You want to handle amounts spent in social media marketing, so we can do that. There is CRM analytics. So it's not working. Sales intelligence. Sorry. So you can. So if you're using Facebook or Google ads, then you can connect your account here to your Facebook account, ad account, and this will then report on. So look, I think you can actually do some reports on here. This will then report on. No, not. I thought this was available. No, not available yet. Coming soon. This will report on.
It is on the cloud.
Right. So look on the cloud. Okay. So This will give you a report on how much ROI you've had from individual campaigns. So yeah, you can do all that part. We haven't got any data in here because we're not connected to anything on this site. So you can handle and record spend on social media. I mean, you can only do Google and Facebook at the moment, so we're not talking about every single platform, but more will come, I think. Lead generation, so you can do CRM. Let's go back into CRM marketing, so we can do email, SMS, Facebook Messenger campaigns and voice campaigns as well. So obviously an email campaign will be same functionality you get in MailChimp. Got a range of different templates you can choose from. You can then customize your template using these standard action blocks, and I can edit the content of those. Create your template, you create your segment. So I can go using a filter here, so I've got some standard ones here. You can segment your contact list. Create your segment, you can then send that campaign or schedule that campaign to be sent. If we're looking at campaigns here, we can see all the campaigns that are sent or pending, and we can look at statistics and things on those campaigns. So you can certainly generate leads in there. You can call to customers.
Yeah, I think the other good one is, isn't it, the Facebook lead ads. So if you are advertising on Facebook, you can actually connect a form, a CRM form, to Facebook, so they appear on your adverts inside Facebook. They'll fill that form out, and then that will generate a lead. And you can track everything through all the other methods that Damien's just said, so all the analytics reporting. But Facebook lead ads is a good one, especially if you want to get your Bitrix forms on those ads inside Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. Calling customers, let's have a look at that. So, what we can do, go into my contacts. I can then filter by, I've got contact type here, let's filter by partners. So go into contact type, filter by partners, do a search. I've got all my partners now, select all of those, and we can dial one by one. So we can call this one, it will move on one after another until we've finished calling all of these. So you can do it like that, called a campaign way, or you can go into your companies and just choose from a contact in the company, and we can give them a call from the system here to allow that on the browser. So you can call them from the system. It will record those calls. If you're enabling call recording, of course you can have incoming calls as well. Closure, don't know what that means, and profit. I mean, you can't record profit. I mean, profit is, you can't add all your costs in like you can on a finance package. You can't add all your operational costs and record that profit. That's a finance feature, really. You'd integrate Bitrix with something like Xero or QuickBooks in order to be able to do that part. You can, of course, see all your sales for a month, so you can see your you can see your revenue, but you can't see any of the profit figures as such. If you want to set a report up so that you could look at profit as 10% of revenue or something, then you can do it like that. It won't record all your operational costs. You want to look at telecaller performance. You can do that. We looked at the dashboard. I mean, you can look at, if I go into telephony, you can look at, and there is a dashboard we looked at where you can see how many activities each individual person is doing. You could just filter that by telephone activities and see just how many calls people are making. You can probably look at how many they're receiving, how many they're making going out as well. And we can look at looking for activity. Where is it? Well, it's not called emails at the top. So you can look at all calls. So I'm going to look at calls for John Smith. And they're all John Smith in this system. So I'm just looking at John Smith's calls. I can see the number is called, duration, I can see, yeah, I don't know why I'm not seeing dates.
Takes here.
Oh, it's call date, so that's not duration. I thought it was duration. Duration is here, okay. So duration is here. Mostly these calls are not demo calls. I've looked at duration. Yeah, you can see date. So you can filter by that date or sort by that date. We can listen back to any of these calls.
Thank you for your call.
And we can see who they've called as well. So I can see the contact that they've called in here. These sort of pages are all customizable. Move them around like this. You can choose which columns you want to see. I don't know if... Here we go, transcript cost. That's quite good for call centres. So if you enable transcript, where is transcript? We've not got it enabled, so there's nothing in there. If you enable transcribing on calls, then it will convert the audio to text. Benefit being that you can then filter, search by keywords to find a call which included that word. It's an integration with Google, so you pay per minute for that. But yeah, that's all available to view full telecaller performance or call by call in a table like this. Export this to Excel if you want to do that. Filter by any of the fields that exist. Just filter calls that are recorded, filter calls by particular cost, or if you can do like a range or something like that, or more than. That might be something you want to do. Look at calls that are costing you over a certain figure. It's all there. If the data's in the system, then you can do a filter on it in any way at all. So yeah, we have it all. It's all there. It's all built into Bitrix. I think that you're going to take some setup, so you need to work with a partner to set it up. They're all doesn't require any code, doesn't require any back end special configuration that's only knowledge is only available to Bitrix developers. It can all be done by yourself. But it's going to involve considerable amount of work, either whether by yourself or by a partner. But generally, usually you do it with as a partnership. You do a bit and the partner does some, and that's the way to do it. So, do we have any more questions?
I don't.
Okay, so someone just joined us. If you've got a question, then post the question in there. We'll finish the session in a minute or two if there's no more questions coming through. But if you want to join, subscribe to Interface on YouTube, subscribe to Bitrix24 on YouTube, and hit the notifications bell, and then you'll receive notifications when we're live. But we do it at 3 p.m. Well, it's 10 a.m. New York time, 3 p.m. in the UK currently, and every week on a Thursday, and then we do webinars at Monday as well. Go to interface.com/webinars. You can register for those there, or Bitrix24. Go to the homepage, scroll down towards the bottom, and go hit the webinars link there, and you can subscribe to our webinars on Bitrix24.com. Okay, don't have any more questions, so we'll wrap it up there. I hope to see you next time. Okay, we just had a question come in, so if you're still there, we'll try and answer this one. I have a question for CRM business processes. I have trigger after deal update. Is it possible to know which field inside deal has updated and maybe get old and new value of field? Okay, so I have a trigger after a deal is updated. So it's a business process, a trigger after deal is updated. Is it possible to know which field inside deal has updated? Oh, I see, right. So you're actually using business processes then, I guess. If we go into settings, and automation and business processes, and we're in deal templates. So you've gone into template parameters, and you've done when changed and maybe when added as well. So what you're doing is you're triggering the business processes when something's changed, and you want to know what's changed inside that record. It will trigger it when anything inside the record changes. So you really want to record the previous value and then the value after it's changed, you would. The problem is,
I don't know how you would do it.
I mean, you could actually have a process whereby you could record all the values of a field. So you'd have it on when added and when changed. So when added, you would copy all the values of a field into secondary fields. So you would use the modify element, and so you copy each value into a secondary field. And then when it updates and those fields change.
I don't think you would do it into a secondary field. Yeah. I think you would need to do it if you created variables instead of creating new fields. So as Damien said, when you create a deal, store all those values in a variable. So you would go to template parameters, create multiple variables for all your fields in your deal, and then you would use the set variable in other. So you would set each variable to equal, and then you would check against each one to see which one's changed, and then get the new value and the old value.
And so I guess what you want to do is see a notification with the old value and the new value just in that notification, see which fields change, so that, I mean, if you want to get in touch with us, then we can go through that with you on a training session or something, or if you just want to send over specifically what you wanted, quote you to do the work. I guess it's only about an hour's long or something. It seems quite straightforward to do that, I think. Hi, if a process is in progress waiting for an event, and if you realise that there is a bug in your process and need to update it, will it? No, that's just being retracted. So I think the question was, will it? So I think essentially, if there's a bug in your process, it will run the process all the way through, even if you change the process.
Yeah, that's right.
So it won't. If you change the process halfway through, if you change your business process halfway through and the process is working, it won't recognise that change. So.
The only way to avoid that, like say, once a business process is triggered, in this case, it will take a snapshot of what that looks like and go from start to finish. Like you say, that might take a little bit of time. What we generally recommend to do is have sub-workflows. So have sub-workflows during if it's a large process, and then what you can do is edit that sub-workflow before it actually is reached. So you can always edit that sub-workflow if your process is running, and then once it arrives here and starts to run that workflow, it will take the changes that you've made in that separate sub-workflow. That's how we tend to recommend doing it if your process is long, because we have clients that processes run for even a year, up to a year. These processes run and don't reach the end until a year later. So we have many sub-workflows inside it, and that means that you can change any of the process throughout that year before it reaches that workflow.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll wrap it up there then. Thanks for your time. Hope to see you next time.